Did John Mara just issue the kiss of death for Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll? And could their time as the leadership group for the Giants be coming to a close? We're going to break it down on today's show. But first, I want all of the real ones watching today's video to sound off in the comment section. What is your confidence level in Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll? Scale from 1 to 10. 1 being you're not confident, 10 you believe they can get you that 5th Super Bowl. Sound off for me right now. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. I appreciate everybody for stopping by as we react to what John Mara had to say about Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll and their job status and security going forward as the brain trust of the New York Football Giants. This is what Mara said to the media last night. Quote, "Obviously, we are all very disappointed with where we are right now. But I am going to say one thing. We are not making any changes this season, and I do not anticipate making any changes in the offseason either." So John Mara says that he is going to continue to roll with Brian Daboll, and he is going to continue to roll with Joe Schoen. Doesn't that sound awfully familiar? Haven't we heard John Mara issue votes of confidence before? And what happened after that? It's almost like he just gave the kiss of death to Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. Let's go back to November 13th of 2017 when Giants co-owners said, Ben McAdoo is our head coach. No in-season changes are coming. That was said on November 13th, 2017. On December 4th, 2017, the New York Giants fired head coach Ben McAdoo. All right, just a one-time thing, right? What about December 26th of 2021? Adam Schefter reported that the New York Giants plan to bring back Joe Judge, Daniel Jones for a 2022 season. What happened quite literally 16 days later? The New York Giants fire coach Joe Judge after a second disappointing season. Look, I do believe that John Mara has every intention of keeping Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll as the general manager and the head coach of the New York Football Giants. He issued them a vote of confidence for a reason, but it's just week 8. We've only played 7 games. A lot can change in 10 weeks. We saw from November 13th to December 4th, something changed and people got fired. From December 26th to January 11th, things changed and people got fired. So look, I just don't want people to believe that this automatically means they are back. I think that they probably should be back, and we'll explain why in a second. But let's just not believe everything you hear out of John Mara's mouth. I don't mind the patient approach from Mr. John Mara. I don't mind it at all. I actually think the Giants should be patient. And probably I think they should be a little bit more patient with Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll than John Mara is planning to. And I'll tell you why. But Mara also said this last night, quote, "I think I try to be more patient than maybe I've been in recent years," when he was asked about what he learned from his father, Wellington Mara. He said he was patient. He preached that all the time. And I've probably been guilty of not being patient enough in recent years. And that's one of the reasons I'm committed to Joe and Brian and giving them a chance to turn this thing around. It's very difficult to be patient because the last 10 or 12 years have not been very good for our fans. And it makes it particularly difficult. But you got to do the right thing, and we're committed to doing that. Committed to seeing this process through. My message to John Mara would be this. If you're going to be patient, be patient. And I mean extremely patient. Because look, the facts are the facts, and the truth is the truth. The New York Giants are not going to make the playoffs this year. They are most likely going to be picking inside the top 10 of the NFL draft. John Mara also last night was asked about Daniel Jones and his future with the organization, and he declined to comment. And I think the lack of words there spoke volumes. But I'll say this. If you let Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll pick their quarterback of the future in the NFL draft this offseason, they should at minimum be your general manager and head coach combination for the 2025 season as well as the 2026 season, and I would go as far to say even the 2027 season. They should get at minimum 3 years as the brain trust of this organization with that rookie quarterback. Because the last thing a rookie quarterback needs is to be on his second GM, his second head coach, and his second offensive coordinator as that rookie quarterback enters his second season in the NFL. You need to have stability, you need to have structure, and you need to somewhat have a safety net for that rookie quarterback. You do not need him learning his second system, his second head coach, and his second general manager as he enters his second NFL season. Look, at the end of the day, I am on the fence with Joe Schoen as the general manager of this football team. I am truly riding the fence. I have 1 foot in and I have 1 foot out. And why is that? Because as a general manager, he's done some really good things, but he's also done some things where you question if he is ready for this job. And we're going to go brick by brick and step by step of why I believe that. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because if we get any more news or any more information on this subject, we're going to be breaking it down on this channel, youtube.com/NYGiantsTV. We put out free, informative, entertaining updates every single day. And we are in a subscriber battle with Steelers Talk, another NFL channel here, hosted by my guy, Jack Sperry. We got the Steelers Monday night. I showed this graphic 2 days ago. We were down in the sub battle. We have now passed them. And I want to say thank you to everybody that has hit that sub button. Well, let's put them in the dirt. Let's get up 100 subs. If you love the Giants, subscribe to the channel. Look, let's just start with this offseason. I think Joe Schoen had a solid offseason. Not a perfect offseason. I didn't love that he got essentially nothing in return for Xavier McKinney. I think he should have traded him at the trade deadline, even though now there is talks of the Giants maybe getting a 4th-round pick as a compensatory pick due to the fact that Ben Bredesen is a full-time starter, and that ties into the Xavier McKinney thing. And at the end of the day, I also somewhat agreed with the ideology of the Saquon Barkley decision. I don't think that you should pay premium dollars to a team, to a player at the running back position for a team that is not ready to compete. I like how he reallocated those funds to a more premium position. I love the Brian Burns trade. I absolutely did. I think that you pretty much took that money from Saquon Barkley and you took that money from Xavier McKinney to, I would say, luxurious positions in safety and running back to put to a premium position and a foundational piece to an organization, and that is the edge rusher. I also love the Jermaine Illuminor signing. The moment it happened, I told you guys I loved it. I said he was a better offensive lineman than John Runyan. I told you guys 2 months before, or around the Super Bowl, about a month and a half before, the Giants were going to sign Jermaine Illuminor. But I do have questions about Joe Schoen going forward as this guy, because for every hit, it seems like there are multiple misses. And I'm not going to classify the John Runyan move as a miss, but I said it on the live stream of free agency. I thought it was a little bit of an overpay. John Runyan, in my opinion, is a average interior offensive lineman, and they gave him $10 million. And maybe that's average money, but I thought there were other offensive guards that he could have paid that would have yielded better results. Also, you exited last season with question marks about Daniel Jones already as a future QB, coming off another serious injury as an ACL, and there was no real QB competition this summer. You just simply handed him the job and said, go ahead, Danny boy, because you passed on Sam Darnold, who has his team in first place, tied for first and going to be in the playoffs, one of the best teams in the NFL, and they beat your ass at MetLife Stadium. John Mara got to see that. You passed on Russell Wilson. You'll get to see him Monday Night Football. He looked great on Sunday Night Football last week, and you also passed on Justin Fields, who had his team at 4-2. In the offseason before that, you passed on Baker Mayfield. So I already question the process of Joe Schoen evaluating QBs, because you did sign Drew Lock for $5 million, but clearly you don't think he's any good because you won't even throw him out there to save $20 million of an injury guarantee in Daniel Jones. You also let Xavier McKinney leave for nothing, and he is arguably having the best safety year of anybody in the NFL. I don't completely disagree with that situation, but the facts are the facts. A lot of talented people left the organization last offseason. You also had no plan for the CB2 position. I wonder if Joe Schoen really values depth, because it seems like he always just drafts for need And I feel like that can get you in somewhat of a hole. You want to have a marriage between the two. You want to draft for need and best player available. But it's always the Giants are just trying to fill the gap. And that is going to limit your depth going forward. I also think he has had shaky draft class after shaky draft class. The 2022 New York Giants draft class is somewhat disappointing. You had 5 picks inside the top 81. And I'm not sure any of these guys outside of Kayvon Thibodeau should and will sign a second contract with the New York Giants. Evan Neal is a bust. Wan'Dale Robinson's ceiling is very low, in my opinion. He is a limited slot receiver that does not push the ball down the field, and he has questionable hands, just keeping it honest. Josh Azudu can't play. Cordell Flott is a depth piece, in my opinion. Daniel Bellinger doesn't even get reps anymore. Dane Belton is a depth piece. Micah McFadden's a good pick at 146. DJ Davidson is what it is, and Marcus McKeithen's not even on the roster anymore. You traded up for Deonte Banks, who I question his heart, I question his dog, and I question his leadership ability because he's quit on this team twice, and you traded up for him. And you could have stayed at that spot at 25 and not gave up future picks, and you could have just drafted Joey Porter Jr. You also drafted Wan'Dale Robinson over George Pickens. John Michael Schmitz, he was awful his rookie year, in my opinion. The entire Giants offensive line was bad. He's been better this year, but he's still a bottom 10 starting center. Jalen Hyatt is hurt, and he has not had a good first 2 years with the Giants. Eric Gray is a bust. Trey Hawkins does not play. Jordan Riley is a depth piece. Javarius Owens is off the team. So you kind of missed at a 70% clip in the 2022 and 2023 draft. But then he comes back and he hits a home run in the 2024 class. We all love Malik Neighbors. We all love Tyler Newman. Drew Phillips is looking like the steal of the draft on the defensive side of the ball. Theo Johnson is showing some promise. We all love what Tyrone Tracy could do. And Muasau had a pick in week 1, and he showed you he could at least be a spot player, and he's going to be able to contribute on special teams. So 1 out of 3 drafts were good. I would say 1 out of 3 free agency cycles were good. But at the end of the day, how should I be able and why should I be able to believe that Joe Schoen is going to land the Giants, their next franchise quarterback? 4 things Joe Schoen needs to do. He needs to be able to identify that quarterback. He needs to have a plan to select that quarterback. He needs to develop that quarterback. And then he needs to build a championship team around him. And I question if he could do any of the 4 because he gave $92 million to Daniel Jones. We could just leave it there. I also think Joe Schoen somewhat suffers from thinking he is the smartest in the room. And I have a strong feeling about this because we got to see a behind-the-scenes clips of Hard Knocks, right? Everyone inside the Giants organization knew Saquon Barkley was going to get paid and have a major market in free agency, except Joe Schoen. What was Joe Schoen worth? Who's going to pay him? Who's going to pay a 27-year-old back more than $10 million? First 3 hours into free agency, your arch rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know. I like him as the general manager. There's some things I believe, and I like his process. But I've also seen enough misses that question if he could ever get the Giants in a spot to be Super Bowl champions yet again. What do you think? Should the Giants clean house at the end of the year? Should they just start over at head coach and general manager or continue to roll with Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen? Type F for fire, type K for keep. I believe in Brian Daboll. I'm 50-50 on Joe Schoen. I don't know. Maybe help me decide in the comments section. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up over there, and let's go Big Blue.